Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Bradley. I'm the principal consultant, one of the principal consultants here at Rawi. And right now, as I have conversations with school districts across the country, people are asking, okay, where do we find money? We want to be able to do all the wonderful things that we say work for attendance and to decrease chronic absenteeism. However, it's been really hard for us to find money. Now, if you've been around us, you would know we always say do not work in silos. You have to collaborate. So what I'm about to share with you, I always say it's nothing new under the sun. But when you collaborate with other departments, you're able to possibly find funding that you could utilize for attendance initiatives because there's funding that has been earmarked for attendance or for other things that can be linked to attendance. Engagement is key. If kids are engaged, they're more likely to come to school. School connectedness is key. If we have things that connect students to school, they are more likely to come to school. But before I even begin this presentation, I want there to be some important considerations, like the legal piece of this. This presentation provides general information only, does not constitute legal advice, okay? The other piece is the fiscal compliance. The information that I share, I want people to know that districts must, satisfy supplement, not supplant rules. Okay. If those of you who are in that business portion or federal programs role in your district, you know what I'm talking about. We're not supplanting. And federal cost principles for all programs. So all the rules, they still stand. We're going to look at some things, but the rules still stand. And the alignment. We want to make sure all costs must align with the state policies and education grant implementation. So I just want to put that disclaimer there. So let's talk about the most popular one, right? It's Title I, Part A. And Title I provides the supplemental funding to help local education agencies and schools expand opportunities for educationally or economically disadvantaged students while distributing, these funds. We also have to look at students who are at risk. So the focus is making sure that there's counseling or mental health programs. Think about it. How many students are not coming to school because of mental health issues? And then also these can be used for mentoring services or behavioral supports. We know that attendance is behavior, but there are a lot of people who are not seeing it that way. So this funds, it can be used for when kids are opposition defiant and all these different things for PBIS programs and things like that. Guys, attendance is behavior. And then we also know that when our kids are connected to a trusted adult, that also increases the likelihood of students coming to school on a regular basis. So that mentoring piece is key. School-wide tiered models for behavior concerns. Oh my gosh, it's so refreshing to see more and more districts because, those who have MTSS models, they focus on academics, they focus on behavior or mental health and tiered, right? Well, more and more school districts are integrating attendance tiered interventions in these MTSS models. So guys, guess what? You can utilize these funds because this attendance is now a part of your model. Think about it. If you have a kid that's missing 5 days, are you going to do the same thing to a kid who's missing 50 days? Or my secondary people, we know that attendance is by period. Are you going to do the same thing for a kid who missed 10 periods as opposed to a kid who missed, and I'm not exaggerating, 120 periods? So I want you to think about that. I want you to actually think about how behavior is defined in your school district, and whoever is supporting behavior in your district, having that conversation to say, okay, since attendance is behavior, how do we utilize these funds in order to be able to do what we need to do? Because guys, if kids are not in school, I don't care how robust your program is. I don't care what you have going on. It's all for naught if they're not there. And then you can also use for parent engagement initiatives. Most people use this for like potlucks or for things like that. Parent engagement is so much more than that. Parent engagement is also communication. So, how do we utilize these funds to turn parent notification, letters here and there, one sided, to parent conversation? And, there are wonderful programs, especially the dashboard of RAWE, that can do that, turning that parent notification into a two-way communication, because research shows that two-way communication with parents is so much more effective as it relates to getting kids back to school. So, ways to utilize these title funds. You can do it district level. There you can take funds and say, hey, a portion of this is going to go to this district wide initiative. But what if you're saying, Sharon, we want to utilize different programs, we want to fund attendance initiatives, but we want to pilot. We want to pilot it at a certain school or a group of schools or whatever. Title I funds can be used, for a particular school, not necessarily for the whole district may not be ready for something. But I used to be the principal of an alternative high school, and I always saw myself as kind of like the incubator for the district. If we can make it work here, like New York, if you can make it work here, you can make it work anywhere. And there were a lot of things that we started there that now are being utilized across the district. But then you can also utilize title funds, more targeted interventions where specific group of students or things like that. So I just want you to know, guys, when you're talking about federal funds, we have to dig deeper. We have to ask the hard questions so you can get access to the funding. Then you have Title II. Okay, Title II provides this funding to support effective instruction. Okay, with the priority for low performing, high poverty schools. But unlike Title I, districts can use it for like whole district, right? Like period. And I know I confused you a little bit with Title I can be used for the district, but it's a certain amount, whereas this is like the entire amount. So professional development, in-service training for educators, where there's trauma-informed practices. A lot of our kids don't come to school because they're dealing with trauma or mental health referrals or anything else of just high quality instructional strategies that engage students. So if teachers know the how, then they can do what is needed in order to keep kids coming every day. Data-driven interventions, training on how to use data. Yeah, you can have all the data in the world, but if you don't know how to utilize it in order to identify at-risk students and implement early interventions to be able to identify things early. We're going to talk a whole lot about early warning signs. Oh yeah, early warning signs and systems that there's lots of federal money with that they actually use that. Well, guess what? You can use that for attendance. So, and then also mental health partnerships, forming those connections between school programs and public and private mental health organizations in order to do the work. If we have a kid that is struggling mentally, we can't wait 2 weeks, a month for them to actually get in and get support. You have to strike at that moment if we're really trying to re-engage the student and the family. Title IV. Title IV is actually, you're going to hear about the SARBs. I actually did some research. This was actually right during the pandemic. I'm like, how in the world? We got to do something different. When our kids come out of quarantine, how do we create some type of problem solving forum where we don't necessarily have to rely on truancy court, that we can actually take care of our kids and families? So I utilize Title IV funding in order to help fund my attendance review boards and game changer for our district. So, Part A, safe learning environment, school based mental health programs, mentoring, counseling, bullying prevention programs that enhance effective learning skills. And if you look even deeper in that, that is where I was able to utilize funding for the attendance review board. Part B is out of school time. We know that, especially if you're able to have an after school program um, on your campus, kids are likely to come to school because they're coming to school so they can be a part of that programming. But this helps fund programs before school, after school, during breaks in order to enhance connections and encourage daily attendance. And then Part E, here's that word again, family engagement. Family engagement is essential, okay, in order to keep kids coming, because we can say one thing and we can do all the things at school, but if we do not empower or our families in order to help reinforce, all the things to help set their kids up for success every single morning so they can come to school or the night before, then hey, we got to look at this more deeply. So this can help promote student attendance and school connections, because when you have healthy family school connections, anything is fine, academics, all the things, right? So an example that was used, I attended a session, and there was a lawyer that was given different examples. So this is just one. It said a district's attendance rates continue to lag post-pandemic, particularly in secondary schools. The district can use Title II fundings to train middle and high school teachers or all adults in the building to build connections with their students. So this is the example they use, building connections. Another thing is front office staff. No one is going to continue to come to a school or a place where they don't feel welcome. So customer service training for front office staff. I attended the Ritz-Carlton customer service training. There are more and more school regions and different organizations that's providing that open to schools. If you see that in your area or Google it and see where it's happening, please, please, please attend that. And then there's also a book called The Friendly School. I went to a conference at the Momentous Institute. It's a social emotional learning lab school. And that is also a book that is called The Friendly School, where it's literally specific training for front office staff. Then you have IDEA. Yes, special education, part 2. This supports special education by adapting instruction to meet the unique needs of students with disability, plus related services like transportation. How many of our kids do not come to school because of transportation? And this is money that can be utilized. And if you look at your data, there are more and more students with disabilities who are chronically absent. So some of the allowable uses, school climate initiatives for students with disabilities, that word again, warning systems and progress monitoring, coordinated early intervening services for struggling general ed students. Okay, it's called CEIS funds. I want you to have a conversation with your director of federal programs, because during the pandemic, there was a portion, because I think it's like 15% can be utilized to support general ed students. And yes, I was able to utilize CCEIS funds in order to support attendance initiatives in my district. Okay. I didn't even know that I could. I'm like, okay, that's special education. I know my undergrad is in SPED, but I have general ed students who are missing. So I want you to look into that too. And then also positive behavioral supports and mental health services, who has PBIS on their campus and other programs like that. Again, with PBIS, I always say you got to get off the island. Gone are the days where you have one staff member or one department supporting school attendance. So either you establish a new attendance team, or you utilize an existing team. And several of the school districts that I support across the country, they already have PBIS teams. All right, well, let's make sure that that team really focus on attendance. So if you're really, really doing all the things, you have to integrate attendance into PBIS, hence maybe getting you access to more funding. All right, early warning systems. These are data-informed intervention platforms for monitoring attendance, academics, all the things, right? And these are powerful tools for identifying the root cause of an absence and providing tailored interventions. Many people use early warning signs just for academics. Remember what I told you. If the kids are not there, more likely they have behavior issues, more likely they have academic issues and things like that. So how do we not only just train our educators, all adults on campus, to be able to identify the early signs of tardiness and absenteeism or disengagement, but then also how do we have a platform where you got to know, the left hand got to know what the right hand is doing. And I would, even in my own previous role, I would have the counselor say, oh, I'm checking on the kids and family. The teacher say, oh, I'm checking on the kids and family. The administrator, I'm checking on the kids and the family. But when I really began to dive deep, ain't nobody checking on the kids and family. So having a data-informed intervention platform, shameless plug like Rawi, it helps with this, because if we all are on the same team, if we know what is happening, if we are better able to tailor interventions to support the needs in a timely manner, okay, and more efficiently. So with these early warning signs, you can detect students nearing chronic absenteeism threshold, whatever that threshold is, for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and identify patterns, because you begin to notice patterns. Like if you have a kid that is absent every exam day or test day, or you begin to notice that most of your absences are taking place on Mondays. Okay, so just different things like that. And then you can develop and implement intervention strategies based on the data, not just kind of, oh, well, this is what I think, or this is probably what's going on. Our kids don't deserve that. And then monitoring the effectiveness and progress of the interventions. Sometimes we just do things because we've always done it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's effective. So monitoring that effectiveness and progress, and then having the opportunity to pivot or shift if need be. So the power of these data systems is developing consistent systems for collecting, tracking, and analyzing attendance data. In my previous district, there were like over 70 schools. So if you have one kid that's going to one school, if I'm a parent and I have a kid going to an elementary school, I have a kid going to a middle school, I have a kid going to a high school, but they all have different systems, that's not fair to the family. So how do we create a consistent system in order to examine these patterns, to be able to identify the thresholds, to be able to develop these targeted supports and strategies and measure the impact? So this data integration enables early identification and, again, timely intervention. We can't wait to like, oh my goodness, this kid has 20 absences and we didn't even know. That's why focusing on chronic absenteeism is key rather than truancy, because truancy, you just focus on the unexcused absences. Okay, but with chronic absenteeism, you are looking at all the absences, unexcused, excused, suspensions, expulsions. It prevents kids from falling, under the radar or in between the cracks, because if a kid, I don't care what the reason why a kid is missing school, they're missing school and they're missing instruction. So we want to keep the kids engaged and focused and engaged. So some additional federal funding sources. There was the Stronger Connections Grant. I think this money can be used until the end of this year, I think September of 2026. It was authorized, it was a bipartisan act, and it was all about creating, welcoming environments, fostering attendance in high needs school. Several districts across the country receive this funding. Just in Texas alone, I think there were like 40 or 50 districts. So I want you to get with your people to see, because it was specifically earmarked for increase in school attendance. And then McKinney-Vento. This is, of course, a federal program, and it can be used to support all the root causes of absenteeism: lack of communication, lack of transportation, housing, okay, basic needs, school supplies, mentors, just all the things, right? But I want to just let you know that these funds, like I said, get with your people. There have been people that we've worked with that are using these McKinney-Vento funds and Title I funds to purchase data-informed platforms and early warning systems. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you kind of get that. But I want to specifically take you through a few databases. I'm from Texas, so some of this is Texas based, but they also have something similar in your district. So we'll talk about it. So moving forward together, I want you to assess your needs, identify the attendance challenges, the root causes in your district, aligning the funding, matching the federal funding to the specific attendance goals or other existing goals. People say, hey, we got to increase attendance because we need to increase this, or we need to increase attendance, but how do you connect that to another competing priority? Implement and monitor launching initiatives and tracking progress using those data systems or the early warning systems. Sustain success, build long-term capacity through strategic resource allocation. Now, this link that this comes directly from the U.S. Department of Education. A lot of this I've already talked with you about, but there were several links that I wanted you to have so that you can kind of take a nosedive based on your school. There may be community schools on this campus. On this call, there could be so much, but this resource provides information on select federal education funding and sources that can support schools to combat chronic absenteeism and boost everyday attendance. So again, I just kind of did a breakdown on a few things. I want you to do your due diligence. Some of these this was created in 2024. So some of these are still up and running and going. Some I would like you to take a deeper look to make sure that they are still going. But again, as you can see, several links. One thing I want to show my people from Texas, if you have not gone to this site, this is the TEA grant opportunities. There are several grants on here. I will not be able to go through all of them. Some are technology, some is for McKinney-Vento, some special education. This is outside of what I just spoke with you about. Whatever you're able to connect your work to, like one is for communities and schools. Communities and schools some of you have communities and schools on your campus or in your district, and they have a whole campaign going on right now about increase in school attendance. But again, some are after school programs, some are, it's just a variety, and some things may work for you, some things may not, but I want you to look at this and look at the region. Some are available for certain regions and certain spaces, but again, everybody watch your eyes. I just want you to see how long this list, is. So if you would just know that. And for people who are not from Texas, whatever your educational body is here in Texas is the Texas Education Agency. It may be something else in Mississippi. It may be something else in, Georgia or Oregon or whatever. I want you to go to that site and see what grant opportunities that are there outside of the federal funding. The next thing I want to share is e-grants. E-grants is honestly available across all states. But the reason why I am showing you this particular one is because this is a grant that I used when I started my attendance review board and other attendance thing. Watch your eyes. There's a criminal justice grant program. There's a juvenile program. So sorry, guys, I hate to do this to you, but I got to scroll down. There's the Juvenile Justice and Youth Diversion Grant Program, where some people have been able to link attendance interventions and things, especially if a lot of your attendance interventions are through the court system or truancy court. I am trying to get there. I had the truancy one. Hold on. That e-grant that I showed you, it was for truancy, specifically for truancy. So my people in Texas, you can apply for that. Just full disclosure, I had at one time gotten $70-something thousand to help run all of my initiatives for attendance, for the attendance review board and attendance initiatives for over 70 schools. So the money is there. But of course, you don't know if you don't know if it's not there. A lot of people are looking for money. I'm just going to briefly share this link. It is the optional flexible school day. Is something that has been going on in Texas for a minute, but it is the district has to apply for this. And bottom line, if you have kids who are already struggling to attend school a full day, you can schedule them or code them for a flexible day or a shorter day, before school, after school, evenings, virtual school, anything like that, and still get ADA funding and attendance. So I want to make sure that my people from Texas know about that. I actually have a whole comprehensive review on that, but we don't have time today. I'm about to slowly transition into strategies and practices that help increase attendance. We have a whole YouTube channel that is for this, and we have created a whole library of 2 minutes or less videos of just how to do home visits, letters, calls, questions to ask in attendance meetings, parent engagement strategies, just a variety of things. So just know that that is there and for you and your support, as you lead this work. And here's the thing, remember, you have to get off the island. You can't just be the only one doing this work. So one of the reasons why we provided quick wins is because you can share this with people who are helping you do the work. Most people, they can do a one-pager, but videos are what people are requesting because they can hear it, see it, and be able to process it.